Electricity. Okay, the plug in Scotland and England is not the same shape as the US. I've actually had students that have said, why aren't they all the same? It's like, well, the world is different. People make their own choices in different countries about the walls and electricity. You should also know that in the UK, power is twice as powerful than it is in the US. The same is true in Europe. So there's parts of our house that actually have 220 volts, like probably your HVAC system, probably the stove, probably your dryer. Is on that higher power. And if you actually looked at those devices, you would see that they have a different way to plug in than the standard two-prong plug that we usually use for most of our electronics. So what that means in terms of the power is that in the UK, all of the power is 220. So the thing you need to do is you need to look at your devices and know whether they can function on that higher power. Most things like cell phones and laptop computers, most of your electronics will. If you look at their power source, you will see something like this. I'll cut away to a clip. Here you can see that this works on anything from 100 to 220. 240 volts. So I know that this device can work on UK power. That's important to know for all of your electronic devices, that they work. The thing you should need to know, there's two things with that have to do with power that you can purchase actually. And the one thing that all of you will need is a power plug adapter. Yeah. So what this does is it changes the shape of the plug from a North America US plug shape into a plug shape for a different country. I tend to like the ones like this that actually I can change them to various shapes, so that if I'm traveling in Europe, it's the 2 pins, and if I'm traveling to the UK, it's their big plug. Yeah, so all of that is important to kind of see. Now, the other device that's possible is, most of us don't carry it, it's called a power converter. So if you have a device that cannot function on 220 power and you need to knock the power from 220 down to 110, then you would use one of these devices, and then you could plug in your device and be safe with that. So those are things to kind of be careful of. We have in the past fried various electronics because someone didn't pay attention. One time we even had the converter, but the student didn't use the converter, just thought they needed an adapter and plugged a projector into the wall. And before we knew it, there was smoke and the projector was gone. Yeah. The most common thing that we lose are hair dryers and curling irons. So those kinds of devices suck a lot of power at one time. So even if they are, even if they say they can sometimes do 220, sometimes they can't. So I always suggest to students is that if you're traveling with these kinds of things, make sure it's a travel version. And also never use one that is so expensive that if it fries, you're going to be devastated that happened. Yeah. So if you have your Dyson hair dryer and it's a $400 hair dryer, I might leave that in the US and go just pick up a cheap one in Scotland, and one that you can also share. So you'll all deal with that as you deal with that. Yeah.